How We Make Movies is brought to you by Microsoft Surface, Assimilate, Azo and AJA, Moviola, and Canon Hollywood.
So it got sold twice and it got made twice. That's pretty rare, especially for a first feature.
Yeah, it was a pretty odd experience. I mean, Josh really covered the whole origin story of how we met, but it was pretty lucky, I guess. I was a 25-year-old screenwriter, and it's like 6 years ago, and like many other writers, I'm sure a lot of people out there are writers, and I had a couple scripts that were okay and some TV specs, and I was kind of just sending them around to like anybody I could like get to read them, or like find query letters, and Josh kind of answered one day, and it kind of went from there, which is a strange and not a likely place that a lot of people get, but I was lucky enough that it worked out. And as Josh said, this is an idea that it just kind of hit me. I had was talking to a friend whose parents were moving from their hometown, and he mentioned that like, yeah, it's gonna suck for, you know, they're going to college, Thanksgiving break, he's not gonna be able to go home. And I was like, there's something there. And I just liked the idea, and I liked that it had this innate time frame of, you know, characters come home on a Wednesday and they go back to school on a Sunday. It just kind of, all the pieces were there, and I worked with Josh on it for a full year before we showed it to anybody. I mean, again, I was
very hard on him.
I was a 25-year-old screenwriter, and he had experience.
I was like 26. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
He had experience, and I was just in a place where I needed to get my scripts out there. I needed somebody to open a door, and Josh was, you know, thankfully he did that for me, so it was great.
The doorman.
The doorman. He opened the door.
Josh is the doorman.
And I left him behind.
Josh,
exactly.
the doorman.
I'll take it.
Now, Josh, you were the producer on both of the films, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I was. I mean, it was a weird thing because, you know, obviously I developed the script, so, you know, ultimately when Chris came to me about him wanting to make it a part of the chair, he sort of said to me, how do you want to do this? You know, do you want to be on both movies, or do you just want to step back and maybe be involved in producing the show? And you know, I said, look, I definitely want to be involved in producing the show. I mean, part of it, selfishly, was if I was going to put myself on camera, I wanted to have a little role producing it behind camera. But then I was like, I couldn't imagine letting it go completely, and particularly then, you know, sitting back and watching it get made without me. So I was definitely, I definitely wanted to see it through and be a part of it. But you know, logistically, obviously, it's impossible. We overlapped for a couple weeks, and so it would have been logistically impossible for me to be the only producer on both films. And so each director had their own personal producer that they brought in. In one case, it was a team. So I had great producing partners on both movies. So by no means did I do it by myself. I had a lot of help, and you know, we all sort of, as you do in any movie, you sort of found your role. So my role on Shane Dawson's movie Not Cool was different than my role on Anna Martinucci's movie Holidaysburg. And what was really strange for me was to see the script get developed in these two different directions, because that was really what happened. Was we wanted to create a situation where the directors could make the movie their own. I mean, that's, a lot of people have said to us, like, well, why didn't you just make them direct the script? It's like, well, that's not real, you know. I mean, that doesn't, you know, directors get to come on and put their stamp on it. And so, you know, we wanted them to be able to make it their own.